Hello and welcome to the English Listening Podcast. Today, we will practice English with a long shadowing story inspired by The Little Prince. This version is told in simple English for listening and speaking practice. Remember how shadowing works. You listen carefully. You repeat at the same time or just after the speaker. You do not translate. You focus on rhythm and pronunciation. Take a deep breath. Relax. Let's begin. Once upon a time, there was a pilot. He lived alone in the desert for a short time. But this story does not truly begin in the desert. When the pilot was 6 years old, he saw a picture in a book. The picture showed a snake swallowing a wild animal. The book said that boas swallow their prey whole. Then they sleep for 6 months while they digest it. The boy thought about this picture. He drew his own drawing. It showed a boa swallowing an elephant. He showed his drawing to adults. He asked, "Does this drawing frighten you?" The adults answered, "Why should a hat frighten us?" They thought his drawing was a hat, but it was not a hat. It was a boa swallowing an elephant. The adults did not understand. So the boy made another drawing. He drew the inside of the snake. He wanted adults to understand clearly, but they still did not understand. They told him to stop drawing snakes and focus on useful subjects. So the boy grew up. He became a pilot. Many years later, his plane crashed in the desert. He was alone, no mechanic, no passengers, only sand and sky. The next morning, he heard a small voice. "Please, draw me a sheep." The pilot opened his eyes. He saw a small boy standing there. The boy had golden hair. He looked calm and serious. The pilot was surprised. "How did you get here?" he asked. But the little boy repeated, "Please, draw me a sheep." The pilot was confused. He did not know how to draw a sheep. He drew the old picture of the boa swallowing an elephant. The little boy said, No, I do not want an elephant inside a snake. A snake is dangerous. An elephant is too big. I want a sheep." So the pilot tried again. He drew a sheep. The little boy looked at it carefully. "No, this sheep is sick." He drew another. "This one is too old." He drew again. "This one has horns. It is a ram." The pilot felt tired, so he drew a box. He said, "This is only a box. The sheep you want is inside." The little boy's face became bright. "That is exactly what I wanted." That was how the pilot met the little prince. The little prince came from a tiny planet. The planet was so small that he could see the sunset many times a day. If he moved his chair a little, he could watch another sunset. The little prince loved sunsets. He told the pilot about his planet. He had 3 volcanoes. 2 were active. 1 was extinct. He cleaned them every week. He also had a flower. The flower was very beautiful, but she was proud. She asked for attention. She asked for protection from the wind. She coughed sometimes to make the little prince feel guilty. The little prince loved her, but he did not understand her. He felt confused, so he decided to travel. He visited different planets. On the first planet, there was a king. The king sat on a big throne. He had no people, but he gave orders. He said, "I order you to sit." The little prince sat. "I order you to ask me a question." The little prince asked a question. The king said he ruled everything, but he only gave reasonable orders. He said, "One must require only what can be done." The little prince left. On the next planet, there was a vain man. The vain man wanted admiration. He asked the little prince to clap. When the little prince clapped, the man bowed. The little prince became tired of clapping. He left. On another planet, there was a drunk man. He drank to forget that he was ashamed of drinking. The little prince felt sad. On the next planet, there was a businessman. He counted stars. He believed he owned them. The little prince did not understand. "How can you own the stars?" The businessman said, "Because I was the first to think of it." The little prince thought this was strange. He visited more planets. He met a lamplighter. The lamplighter turned his lamp on and off every minute because his planet turned very fast. The little prince liked him. He was faithful to his job. Finally, the little prince arrived on Earth. Earth was very big. He walked in the desert. He met a snake. The snake spoke in riddles. It said it could send him back to the sky. The little prince continued walking. He found a garden full of roses. He felt sad. His flower had told him she was unique, but here were thousands of roses. He lay down in the grass and cried. Then he met a fox. The fox said, "Please tame me." "What does that mean?" asked the little prince. "It means to create ties," said the fox. The fox explained that if the little prince tamed him, they would need each other. The wheat fields would remind the fox of the golden hair of the little prince. They would become special to each other. The little prince tamed the fox. When it was time to say goodbye, the fox said, "One sees clearly only with the heart. What is essential is invisible to the eye." The little prince understood something important. His flower was special because of the time he had given her, because of his love. He returned to the pilot in the desert. The pilot was fixing his airplane. They talked many days together. The little prince asked many questions. He cared about sheep and flowers. He cared about responsibility. He said, "You become responsible forever for what you have tamed." One night, the little prince looked at the stars. He seemed quiet. He told the pilot that he must return to his planet. The pilot felt afraid. "How will you return?" he asked. The little prince smiled softly. His body was too heavy, he said. He needed to leave it behind. The snake appeared. The little prince did not cry. He stood still. He fell gently like a tree. No sound. The next morning, his body was gone. The pilot felt sadness, but when he looked at the stars, he remembered the little prince's laughter. He imagined the sheep inside the box. He imagined the flower protected by glass. And whenever he heard a child laugh, he thought of his friend. The little prince had changed him. He had learned that imagination matters, that love is responsibility, that what is important cannot always be seen, and even in the desert, friendship can grow. That's the end of today's long shadowing story inspired by The Little Prince. This story is perfect for shadowing because it includes emotions, dialogue, and meaningful sentences. Listen again, repeat again, follow the rhythm. The more you shadow, the more natural your English will become. Thank you for listening to the English Listening Podcast. See you in the next episode.